Alrighty, so now that you have your GitHub repos set up, we're going to use and learn something called Markdown. Okay, so a good place to start to learn Markdown is just actually to go to Google and type Markdown, because Markdown, you're going to learn markup, which is HTML, but Markdown is a simple syntax to write basically documentation files. And that's what you're going to use for your lecture notes. Okay. So I end up going to markdownguide.org. You can go there directly if you want. You can learn the ropes. I think that's a good idea. That's really helpful to do. I'm going to show you how to do it, but in general, but I'm going to actually just dive into the syntax because I kind of just like to learn by doing it. And so what you can see is here is when you want to do a heading, that's great. You use this syntax right here, right? The equivalent in HTML, which you're not going to use, you're going to be using the Markdown, is just showing you the equivalent, right? And then it also shows you, let's see. Oh, an alternative syntax. Yeah, that's cool. A different way you could do it as well, if you wanted to actually use that as well. Here's your typical paragraphs, which in this case you just write these. So let's actually use this. Okay. So how do you use this in our course? So what we're going to do is this is your first lecture. So just to remember where we're at, you're in lecture. So when you're in lecture mode, typically what you're doing is you're taking notes on something. So what we're going to do is you're going to take notes on the video content as I'm going through it right now. So let's go ahead and get your files set up. You can just follow along here. So remember, all the lectures go in the private repo. So in the private repo, we set up in that last video lectures. So I'm going to go into lectures, and remember we created that txt file. So now we're going to use that same thing. We're going to create a new file. In that new file, we're going to name this file week1.md. Now, when you're naming files, when you're naming files, they should be all lowercase, no space, and that the .dm means markdown. And this is just the repo location, what we call a branch that it's locating it in. So let's do this. Now that we have a little bit, let's do a heading, right? So let's go back over here, scroll back up, look at that heading. Okay, so let's do a heading 1. So let's do a pound sign. We're going to see about CIT82 intro to web development. Okay, web dev. I shorten it web dev. It's just what I do. You can type out web development. Now, what's cool here is that in this little GitHub interface, you have a preview. So you can actually see what that looks like, right? So now what I want you to do is go ahead and and I'm not going to do it, but you do it. Do another heading for Markdown. Okay. Okay, maybe I will do it. So maybe I'll do, if I do what will that do, right? About Markdown. What's your guess? Right, it's a subheading. Perfect. So here's what I want you to do. I won't go over exactly, but I want you to just take general notes about what I'm about to cover, right? So here's your first note I want you to take is in general, when you're doing lectures, you always use headings and outlines for your concepts. Okay. So, what do I mean by outlines? So, you are going to just give me your major concepts. So, if you scroll through here, let me look for the heading, the bold, looking for the, not the quotes. I think I'm on the, you know what? I'm on the wrong one. I want to go to cheat sheet. That's where I actually wanted to go the first time. So when you're doing notes, you use headings, okay, and you use list. Like you can either use ordered list, and this shows you how to do it, or an unordered list. You can use rulers, but I want you to, because what you're going to do is in this file, you're going to outline the things I've talked about. So how would we do that? Well, let's say I wanted to use an order list, right? So I would do number 1. So I'd come back over here. Now that I've actually here, I'd go back to edit, right? So I could do 1 period, how to use Markdown, right? So if I go back to preview, now I can see that that's, so what you would put here, I just put something, is that I want you to put that you need to use both headings, right? And bullets, whether that be, in this case, bullets are, and this is different. What's great about this is you're learning already some HTML concepts, because these are ordered list or unordered list, which is something we learn in HTML. I know for typically when you're talking about notes, you all learn about other things. Okay, so you learn about bullets and all those. So just know that unordered is typically your bullets, and these are your numbered, but you're learning HTML. So that's what I want you to know first. And what's really important is whenever you're doing lectures, make sure you're using headings. Right, we've learned about headings now, right? Headings, and remember, it's like your major heading, and then a H2. In this case, two pound signs would be a subheading, right? You could do a block quote if you want, but typically in our classes, you could also do a link. Which, by the way, I want you to do a link for this one just to play around with it, and then we could talk about images later. Okay. All right. So that's the first thing, is understanding Markdown. So have a few notes there, what we went over. And again, your heading is Markdown. So now we're going to actually talk about the web developer program. Trying to cue you that you have a new major heading, right? So what's that heading? I'm going to show you about, and this could be the title of it. You name it whatever you want, but is the program that you are starting in for this class. So I'm going to go to the Fresno City website. I'm going to go to academics. I'm going to go to academic divisions. Down in academic divisions, I'll scroll down to business education. And in business education, you will see all the programs listed for Fresno City College. And in this case, you go to computers, right? So we have a little bit of navigation. You don't have to put that in your notes. All I'd want you to say at this point is that we're going to look at the degree, right? And the certificates, right? So there is a certificate you could get. This actual certificate will be going away. So there's really the web developer certificate, or there's the web developer degree. The difference between these is that if you want the degree, you have to at this and do all the GE. But if you just want the content without the general ed, then you would do the certificate. So they're basically the same. So let's go look at them real quick, because they are going to change. We are in the process of them changing, but this shows you how, like, the things that you have to take. And I will tell you right now, this is actually going away. And this course right here, and this could be content for your outline that you're doing. This CIT28, which is web client server databases, will replace the CIT90 up here, right? And then what you can do is you have to take these courses, and then you can choose two of the following. But at that point, you can choose 84, you can choose 94, 97 will go away, or you could choose machine learning. So these are really great things to kind of focus. And if you want to talk about these, please let me know, because I love talking about your particular interest and what you might want to see in here. I believe we are adding some other options, but in your notes, right? Again, back here, you could be taking notes about, your new topic and what I've talked about as far as the web developer program. So I've shown you how to get there. I've shown you the requirements. I've talked about how they've changed. So that's what you want to know. At this point, let's go ahead and do this. Now we're actually going to move into how do you submit this, okay? So I'm going to actually do a commit. It's like what we did before, where we're committing the file is writing the file to GitHub out on the web, right? So let's go ahead, and I'm just going to leave the standard commits here. Again, you'll learn about how to do this later. I'll go ahead and commit this. Great. So now if I'm here, I can click on here, and we'll click on the week 1. And so this is the URL that you will submit. And URL is up here, right? The Universal Resource Locator is up here. And this is what you'll submit in the Canvas to show that you've completed this work. So let's actually walk through that. So copy the URL, come over to Canvas, right? Now we're going to submit this assignment. And in this case, it's a URL, it's, showing you, and actually it's trying to give me some other one. Make sure this is the one. If you have any comments, you can do that. And then you go ahead and hit submit. Okay, great work. Congratulations. Oh, Canvas is celebrating with you. You got through your first lecture in this course. Right on. All right, move on to the next one.